dangerous large carnivore out there.
Yeah, I saw that bird pick a young deer off the road and fly away.
And it was just about getting dark, and we started panicking, running down this ridge, not really having any clue what was throwing rocks in our vicinity, good-sized rocks. And I stopped long enough to get a 357 out of my backpack and look back, and that's when I saw it. I saw one.
For a week, the town's Defiance was being harassed by a werewolf. And it's actually attacked two railroad workers, killed livestock, just a lot of weird stuff that was going on.
Good evening, Monster Xers. This is your host, Gunnar Monson, along with me, as always, is my good friend, Shane Hardcore Corson. Shane, how are you today?
Good. I'm cold, but I'm doing well. We're getting quite the little weather patch up here in the Pacific Northwest. With right now, we got some snow earlier. Nothing really crazy, but we got some snow here in the Portland general area, and now we're getting some freezing rain. So it's a bit nippy, but this is the time of year I love. I love snow camping, and I did. I've done that in the last couple of weeks. In fact, I was up at Mount Hood over the weekend, placing some trail cameras and enjoying the weather and the absolute beauty that is out there with this snow. It's amazing this time of year when you get up into the higher elevations to see the snow on the trees and stuff. So just enjoying this time of year. A lot of people dislike it, but I love it.
Well, it limits, our ability to get out into the woods to some degree. I mean, if you're hardcore like Shane Corson is, you don't let the weather stop you. But I mean, really, there's some, advantage for researchers if they can get out in this kind of weather when there's snow on the ground, because there's leaves an opportunity for there to be tracks where there might not be tracks in other times of the year. So.
And
I know.
And it's
ahead,
also
Shane.
important, though. It's also important. Let me say this. It's also important, though, that if you're an active researcher, that you experience all the elements, and especially if you have a research area or area you go to, that you experience all types of weather in all environments, a better understanding what you're dealing with. That's important. You can't just go out when it's convenient, unfortunately, because you won't get a broader picture of what's out there to eat, the living situations out there in the woods. I mean, you want a broad picture, and you want to do the subject justice. And so, you want to realize that the seasons do change, and that your research area or area you go to, you want to understand all that it has to offer and give, and it's just the best way to go about it. And I particularly love this time of year. I love the snow, and it doesn't bother me whatsoever. But I like to be out all times of the year to get a better and broader picture. What elevation should I be at? What's going on at the elevation that I study? What's going on below and above, and the whole thing.
That's a great point. Is that being out there year round does, as you say, it provides a broader picture, and the whole context of studying a particular area and movement, not just of our quarry, but other animals and wildlife and stuff. And and how that affects their movement, because how it affects, we're talking about a predator animal, and of course, so the movement of prey would affect and predict to some degree what the movement of the predators are. So
you want to understand the fauna in that area, the ungulates, what they're doing, at multiple elevations, is what's coming through that research area that you've been studying in the summer. Anything? I mean, do you have deer or elk or bear, cougar, or deer, rabbits or squirrels, anything, and then what's the fauna? What's the ground cover like? That's all little tidbits that if you only study or go into an area one time a year, you're only getting part of the picture. You're not really truly understanding what's going on. If you follow elk and whatnot, they move around a lot. And, I remember a couple years ago I was up at Mount St. Helens, and I was studying. We were up there checking out some reports from some hunters. We went up in the wintertime, and we were at a decent elevation, and we saw, I think, a coyote the whole time we were out there. Just one coyote that was following us, and when we had noticed it, it peeled off and took off. Found very little tracks. We dropped down about 500 feet, and wow, guess what? Life galore. Elk tracks, deer tracks, coyote tracks, and we, saw, more birds and everything. I mean, it stands to reason. It's not rocket science. Obviously, things got to eat, and if snow's covering, the ground, it makes it a little bit more difficult to find, nutrients in food. So you drop down a little bit, and there's your green lush grass and whatnot. So it just makes a lot of sense.
One of, I think, the advantages of going out during the winter when there's a lot of snow at higher elevations, it actually compresses the amount of space that you actually have to cover, because all the wildlife moves down. So they're not up in the snow line, so you actually can move around in the areas that aren't snow covered and run into quite a bit of wildlife. Where it's spread out over the whole entire all elevations at other times of year. So.
Right.
So
it's important to spend the time out there, and I fortunately love it. I know a lot of people hate it, and I understand why, because it's cold and it makes for sometimes miserable camping situations. But if the more time you spend out there, the more experience you have, and then you get to really benefit from that, because then you get to realize how other animals adapt to those living situations and where they go and what they do. And if you can understand just the known species, perhaps you can better understand the unknown or non-proven species like Sasquatch.
Very good. Well, I know that we've talked and that you're rededicating yourself to getting out in the field as much as possible in 2016, and I'm of the same mind that that we know for a fact that this species will not be proven on Facebook or on the computer. We need to be out in the field and going places and expanding our research and documenting and following, checking areas that we haven't checked before, and all that takes time, being out in the woods, as much as possible. So I look forward to a productive 2016 in terms of research. So
yeah. Every year, I think you need to set yourself some goals and come up with some new ideas, and then really envelop those into your research and really stick to it. If you're just plateauing, you probably won't get anywhere. You really got to think outside the box. I know people think, we've been looking for Bigfoot, Sasquatch for 60 plus years and this and that. There's always a new idea, a new endeavor, different areas to look at that are of value. And if you can really nail those down and stick to your guns on it, perhaps you'll get somewhere. But don't stay stagnant. Think outside the box. Do bigger and better things, and make goals for yourself. I mean, it goes for just life in general. But with this subject, there's always something new to be found, and new ideas coming forth, new technology, and you got to envelop all that within your game plan. And it's very important, I think. And I got we have big goals. The Lynn Project, Filma Group, us as individuals have huge goals and ideas for this upcoming year. And another year I'm excited about doing this type of research. It's a lot of fun. And if you're not enjoying yourself, well, you probably shouldn't be in it.
I agree. So, yeah, moving on to other topics, same topic, but another subject, is tonight is the 2-hour premiere of Finding Bigfoot. Are you excited? Will you be watching Glued to the Tube?
Won't be glued, but I will be watching. I got, those guys are my friends. Cliff Berkman is a friend of mine, a friend of ours, and I enjoy his exploits, as well as Bobo and Renee and Matt. I like the show for its entertainment. It's fun to watch. Will it prove Sasquatch? Probably not. But it's a fun show to watch. I don't think it's doing any harm as people claim that it is. I really don't. It's getting awareness out there of the subject. And having said that, yeah, I'll watch it. I enjoy the show for its entertainment value. I know a lot of those guys are independent researchers that take the subject very seriously and enjoy researching, and they get paid to go out and talk to people and travel around the world. Bless them. Awesome stuff. So, and they do talk to some very interesting witnesses and go to some really interesting places. So for that value, it's valuable to me.
Yeah, I like you said, I also enjoy it for the entertainment value, and I know Bobo, and I know Cliff, and I know Matt, and I've met Renee, so it's
right.
Kind of fun to have people that you're familiar with out there, and yeah, they all will tell you that they are well aware that the show does not accurately depict what they do when they're out researching. But, like you said, it has raised awareness. I always refer to it as this generation's like In Search Of. This is raised awareness. It's a great show for people to be introduced to the subject, and it has allowed I think it's allowed a lot of people that have had encounters to come forward and feel comfortable doing it, not overcome that not wanting to look like a crazy person, because there's a TV show on about the subject. So
right. And Gunnar, you and I have both been involved with a couple of the Finding Bigfoot shows. We've been in them. We've gone out with those guys, and yes, there's production crew there and everything else. Doesn't change our research. Doesn't change Cliff's research or Bobo's research on the subject. They get paid to do a TV show. And we were fortunate to be invited on a couple of shows and had fun doing them. Got to see behind the scenes what they're really about and what they're doing. And it is for entertainment purposes. There is some research involved, but at the same time, you have to. If nobody's watching the show, it's not going to make it, and so it has to be somewhat entertaining, and that's just the core of the show. People love it or hate it. It's there, and I enjoy it for what it is. I don't sit there and wait every weekend for it, but I will watch them. I enjoy them.
And I still am somewhat hopeful that they'll have some kind of substantive encounter. You never know. They're spending a lot of times out in the woods with a lot of equipment, so I enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to it, and I know that obviously there's a lot of people that still watch it because it's still on TV. So
yeah, exactly.
That Animal Planet tonight, the 2-hour premiere of the Finding Bigfoot season. So I'll be watching it.
Exactly.
A little bit of Bigfoot news this week. I don't know how many people that are listening are familiar with Dr. Matthew Johnson, and he has a research area in Southern Oregon that he refers to as SOA, which stands for the Southern Oregon Habituation Area, and he's been going out there for 8.5 years to the same location even when he moved 300 miles away. So there was he had a group of people that were determined to find his secret location, which is on in the public land. And it's funny because I know a little bit of I have a little bit of background because I actually went to SOA one time with Dr. J, and I don't know how many times I've been asked for the location, and I had made an agreement. I had agreed not to share the location. Just like we have a research area, and I don't tell everybody where our research area is because I don't want people. It increases the likelihood of being hoaxed. And this week, the guys that have been trying to find it had success. They that opened up a firestorm of a debate about whether that was okay to do, you have people that think it's fine because their opinion of Dr. J and his research, and then other people that disagree that that it's not okay to go out and find somebody's research area and make it public. And that's that you can argue both sides. One of the things that's kind of interesting to me, Dr. J painted a target on himself because he was challenging these guys to find the location and tell them that they never would. And, well, he now knows that he was wrong, and they did locate it, and it caused, like I said, a firestorm of debate. And a lot of it's interesting to me is how much energy gets put into something like that, because in the end, it's not going to really add anything or take away anything from Bigfooting. If there's, to me, going out and doing field research in your own area is what's productive. Getting into big arguments and debates about stuff like that on Facebook just is not productive. Or for me, it's not where I have everybody has a limited amount of time and energy, and it's just not where I choose to put my energy. So.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to add, Shane, on that?
Well, yeah, I totally agree. Everything that you just said, Gunnar, is that Matthew Johnson put it out there. As Bruce Kelly says in the chat, Johnson taunted people and he challenged them, and he did. And then guess what? Well, people will probably, more times than not, take that challenge to heart and move forward with it. And guess what? Well, they found their location, and is that where I would put my time and effort? No, I got better things to do. I got areas to research on my own, and the Olymp Project was tagged as being a group that was a big part of this. No, I never invested any time into finding the area. If I wanted to, I know I probably could find it easily. I have no doubt about that, but I don't have time or effort or whatnot to do that. So not my efforts, not the Olymp Project's efforts. We don't care. We have other things to do, better things to do. This finding someone's area of research, whether you believe in someone's claims or not, will not boost forward the effort and the subject matter in regards to Sasquatch. That you're going to spend a lot of time messing with stuff that really won't get you anywhere. What's your ultimate goals? Expose a if you think the guy's a hoaxer, sure, and I understand where some of these guys are coming from with that. I just not my thing to do. Just not interested in it. And so move onward and upward.
Interesting flip. Yeah, the day of discovery when the species is confirmed, it won't matter one way or the other. To me, it's just another one of those things that happened. And
here's the thing too. Is we're talking to the audience tonight, and a lot of people don't know what the heck we're talking about. They don't care. What they care about is what our guests have to say. What are we bringing to the table, and what's new in the Sasquatch research? What are people finding? And so this endeavor within locating someone's area. Yeah, we have an audience that know who these people are and are interested in the subject, but our broader audience has no idea what the heck we're talking about, and I understand that.
Right.
And I get it.
Right.
Because they're just interested in the Sasquatch phenomena in general. They're not interested in finding somebody's
Bigfoot
research
drama.
area. Yeah, well, yeah.
Bigfoot drama.
You know, some people love soap operas. I don't. I'm not a soap opera guy. I don't like drama. I like to keep it crisp and clear, and here's the evidence. Here's the lack of evidence. Here's what people are doing. This is what we're doing. That's, you know, I think that's what the vast majority of people want to hear. And so, you know, it's just not interesting to me to find a location of someone else's research area that may or may not have anything to prove or bring to the table. What am I doing? I'm more focused on what I'm doing with the groups that I work with, and that's to me is the important thing, not looking into someone else's research area. But I do understand why some of these individuals did it, and there was a challenge there, and I guarantee it's probably not done. You know, there'll be more to be said about this, but for the record, the Limb Project had nothing to do with this, and we don't care.
No,
we just don't.
It was just an interesting storyline this week in Bigfooting, and if, like you said, the broader, to most people, and most of the people probably listening to the show do not have any idea about SOA or really are not that interested in the drama of Bigfooting. So that being all said, I'm ready to. We've got an interesting show for you today, and it's a gentleman who is a professional makeup artist who has a passion for Bigfoot and decided to make his own Bigfoot movie, which is in I believe in pre-production at this point, with the scheduled release date released sometime in 2017. The title of the movie is a Sasquatch, Boss of the Forest. And our guest today is Collier. And I'm sorry, Collier, my internet is actually down on my phone right now, so I remembered your first name and your last name is escaping me. Shane, do you have that? Are you still there?
I am still
Collier
here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Collier
yeah, it escapes me as well. Okay. Big foul up there. I think it was Kel.
Sorry, Collier.
I could be wrong.
So let's go ahead and bring Collier on at this.
Let's verify.
Collier, are you there?
Hello?
Hi, Shane. This is Gunnar.
I believe we have Collier on the line now, yeah.
Can you hear?
Yeah,
I can hear you now.
Hear you. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Doing well. Thanks for joining us this evening. We kind of goofed up on your last name.
No, it's all right. I was good.
Shane, is it me or is Collier cutting out?
He's cutting out. Collier, you're kind of cutting out on us. I don't know if it's your connection or whatnot, but you're kind of cutting out. I heard you speak for a second, but then you dropped off.
It's all right. Hang up, call back.
I can hear you now.
That. Yeah.
No problem. Are you still there?
Yep, I'm right here.
Okay,
Live
perfect.
radio.
No, we can hear you now. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know if it's Blog Talk on your end, but anyways, glad to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. So.
Yeah, excellent. So, Gunnar, do you want to run with this? I know we were, we're very excited to have you on here. I'm a big fan of Bill Munns, and so to find out that you're a makeup, specialist or artist in the field, that's super exciting to me.
Yeah, thanks. Also, I was going to professional myself, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? If you are still cutting in and out, if you don't mind, if you can call back in, maybe that will fix the problem. You're kind of in and out again.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no problem. I'm gonna release you here. Please call back in, and I'll pick you right back up.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Blog Talk
radio.
or on his end, but either way, it's really interesting because I'm a big fan of Bill Munns and his work. He did helped out with the Creature of Black Lagoon and King Kong and a bunch of stuff. So having someone else on the show that is familiar with this subject matter and has a film coming out, it's exciting to me. So here he is here. I'm going to bring him back on. Hey, Collier, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Is there still having any problems?
No, you sound great now.
Yeah, you sound great now. So perfect.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So Collier, as I was saying before we brought you on, my internet was down, so I did not have your last name. Why don't you tell our listening audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, and your background?
Well, I am Collier Wilmes. I do makeup effects sort of in my free time. For the moment, it's my career goal, and I've been wanting to make a Bigfoot movie forever. I've been working at it since I was I think a freshman in high school, and mostly been putting it off forever. And then earlier this year, I decided to finally take it seriously. I took a couple of months to write a rough screenplay, and I've been going in and touching it up over the production. And I've been working at making a Bigfoot suit, and that's basically where we're at right now.
No, fantastic. What really got you, Collier? What really got you into the subject of Bigfoot? I mean, what's your fascination, with this subject?
Well, it really started as a child. I would see these Bigfoot documentaries on all the time, and actually had some cruel jokes played on me where people would say they were going to leave me out in the woods for Bigfoot to come and get me, and that sort of, I guess, snowballed from there. And I've always loved Bigfoot movies, and from Legend of Boggy Creek to Sasquatch, Legend of Bigfoot, to more recent movies like Exists.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have
the movie Exists. That Eduardo Sanchez, who I've interviewed before, but before the release of his film, he spent a lot of time, and he's had an interest in the subject matter too. But he spent a lot of time researching the subject and whatnot, and that's where his fascination was. Kind of similar along the lines of your fascination with it. He's not a researcher, and I don't think you would claim to be a researcher, right? You're just interested in the subject matter and the enigma of it all.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, I've been fascinated with it all my life, pretty much, and pretty much in my free time, I look up all sorts of Bigfoot stuff, look at the documentaries, see what's new in the Bigfoot world, what photos have come out, what hoaxes are going on, what actual credible research is being done.
Mm-hmm. What do you? Well, speaking of that, I mean, in your mind, what credible research is being done? Is there anybody that you researcher-wise that you really pay attention to or listen to or think are going about things the right way? Any groups or people that come to mind?
Really, because I can't say recent stuff, because stuff has been slowing down. Obviously, when you're working on a movie, you sort of almost cut yourself off. But all I can think of people that I've met that I feel are really cool and are very great researchers are people like Michael Ruggs, who does the Bigfoot Discovery Project. Because I got a chance to visit his museum this past spring when I was out in California with my girlfriend. And he was just a very cool guy. I also contacted him when I was first starting this when I was in high school. And he really was very helpful with all his knowledge. And since he spans back into when Bigfoot really started, well, not really started, but our modern interpretation of Bigfoot started in the 50s.
Yeah, Michael Rugg is a really knowledgeable guy, specifically in that area of Northern California. He is so knowledgeable, and his museum. If you haven't been there, for those that are listening, I highly recommend it. If you want to check out a museum with a lot of history and artifacts and stuff. I mean, he even has a tooth there. I don't know if he showed it to you. He probably did, but he has a tooth there that, and it's very interesting, the backstory on it. But a tooth that he has that may or may not be a Sasquatch. I don't know, but it's a large. I believe it's a molar. I could be wrong, but anyways, and then he has replicas of skulls there of Gigantopithecus, recreations and whatnot. Very fascinating museum, and Michael Rugg is a true pioneer, and he also needs funding. So if anybody that has been there wants to help fund the museum, because it takes a lot of work to keep that place open, I highly recommend putting some money there. But anyways, great guy. Anybody else that you've met up with that you've talked to? Anybody else reached out to you to give you guidance or advice?
I don't know about people I've met, because I've met very few Bigfoot researchers. Of course, I've sort of corresponded with Julie Rent, who got me on the show. Mm-hmm. She's a very cool person, very helpful with getting the movie out there so far. And I've talked to other podcasters like Jeff Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Squatchers Lounge, yes.
Yeah. But it's mostly been slowing down for me because of, like I said, cutting yourself off pretty much when you're making your movie. It's all about trying to get it done.
Right. Well, let's talk. Collier, can you talk a little bit about the process that you're going through to create this Bigfoot movie, and what led you to the title, Sasquatch, Boss of the Forest? I keep saying woods, but it's the forest.
Yeah, I know. The title alone, originally it was set to be Oma, Boss of the Forest, but and that was going to be the way it was for the 5 years. It was sort of in limbo. And when I finally started taking it seriously, I made a Facebook page for it, and I was starting to promote it. Then I had some people out there that pretty much brought to my attention that Oma is actually, I guess it came that Oma isn't really a word for Bigfoot. It's more of a term for bad Indian. And that if I went ahead with it, I would sort of offend some people, I guess. And I went and did some fact-checking, so I decided it was probably better just to change it to Sasquatch, Boss of the Forest.
Gotcha. So what's the process of making a movie about Bigfoot? I mean, what was step one, step two? What have you gone through to? I saw on your Facebook page that you're doing storyboarding. Is that something you're working on currently? Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I'm currently going through. I'm storyboarding almost every page of the script. So pretty much it started with, of course, the writing. I pretty much went through and watched all the Bigfoot movies I could, from Legend of Boggy Creek, Creature from Black Lake, Exists, Sasquatch Mountain, Sasquatch Hunters, et cetera, seeing what's been done, what has not been done, and what would I like to do, what I want to see done. And one thing that I've seen rarely touched upon, like the only time I've seen it touched upon was in Exists, was that Sasquatch never feels like it's a character in the movie. Like, he's just sort of either in the background or basically, for lack of a better word, a prop in the movie. So I wanted to make sure that this was an actual character, that he had a motivation. Not like super elaborate, just that there's some, I guess, a little bit of depth there.
And that was something that in Exist was different about Exists. I mean, a lot of it seems like the majority of Bigfoot movies that I've seen have been basically monster movies. That Bigfoot's a monster and tears people apart, and Exists, there was there was something to that there was a motivation behind the creature's behavior, and it wasn't just that it was out to kill people like a monster. That when you're talking about depth of character, is that what you're talking about with your movie?
Oh yeah, pretty much to sum it up, when I was talking to the composer for the movie, a guy named Stav, check him out. He also did the music for another Bigfoot short called Hominid. He, in his words, he described our Bigfoot as like a tragic character.
Oh, good. I mean, that's so. Where did the phrase "boss of the woods" come from?
Oh, it came from pretty much stemmed from the title back when it was Omaha, because you always heard Native Americans talk about the Bigfoot's always being like the boss of the mountains or the boss of the woods or the boss of the forest. That it's a character or a creature to be respected, and he's in charge of the forest. He is pretty much like the top dog. And I think a lot of Bigfoot researchers would agree with you that, or that premise that they are in charge in the woods. You know, they seem to have an upper hand on us Bigfoot researchers for the most part. So for me, one of the things that I'm excited to see is what kind of costume that comes out from someone who is a makeup artist or a special effects artist. What can we expect to see, in terms of detail of the creature? Is there going to be a lot of clear shots, or is it going to be fuzzy in the background? Well, also another thing that I wanted to do with this movie was, if everything goes as planned, because we're planning to do an Indiegogo to help fund the project. If we get real and good money, I would like to have this set in the 70s, because that's when I feel like that's when Bigfoot was the biggest, because you just came hot off the Patterson Gimlin film, and there's a lot of that's when most of the Bigfoot movies we remember come from, like Legend of Boggy Creek and all that. So I feel like that would be a very good time to set the movie in. So, and also I wanted to sort of weave in an atmosphere, sort of like when you see the old Universal horror movies where they have this atmosphere where there's all the fog and stuff, and I just wanted to see that nice image of especially during the beginning when you're building the suspense and you're just teasing the audience of the creature, seeing the silhouette of the Bigfoot gliding almost through the fog.
So go ahead.
No, I was going to say then move into hopefully a very big climax. Not big as in everything's exploding. It's just big as in it's feels grand,
So tell us a little bit about the storyline. I mean, what is the premise of your movie?
Basically, it's all about there's 3 core characters that go throughout the movie, with a couple of almost side characters. The 3 main characters are a Bigfoot researcher named Debbie, a grieving widower named Steve, and of course the Bigfoot. And so the basic premise is Debbie's father, who is a Bigfoot researcher that is based off of a number of people, mainly Robert Patterson and Grover Krantz. He has passed away, and she's pretty much trying to carry on his legacy and trying to finish a book he was writing. And she's got a sort of a sleazy documentary filmmaker named Norm Marks, who is doing this documentary he's wanting to do, and he can't get the funding for, and so they go out into the woods because been this report of a hermit who had shot a couple of creatures 10 years prior. And so they go out into the woods. They meet the hermit. He is a very sketchy guy, but he's basically warning them to be careful because the Sasquatch is the boss of the forest. But they, of course, we don't have a movie if they obeyed what he warned them of, and they press on. And, pretty much the movie spirals out of control from one of them pretty much screwing up. And meanwhile, there's this Steve. He's having to deal with the fact that his wife is dying and has to go out into the woods to pretty much spread her ashes.
And it sounds like, so how did you, Collier, I mean, how did you come up with this premise in this story, this outline for it? I mean, there's people out there like Justin Smeha who have claimed to have shot Sasquatch up in the Sierras. So I mean, this storyline is not necessarily unique. Obviously, it's not a film yet. It could be very unique, but I mean, how did you envelop this story? How did it come to you, and why the premise of this storyline?
Oh, it sort of spiraled as a combination of just pretty much soaking up all this energy about what stories in the Bigfoot community, like obviously the Justin Smeha story, stories like Ape Canyon. I'm trying to think of others, and also there's been some people that I've friended on Facebook that sort of had inspiration for some of the characters. I can't remember who the woman's name is, but I remember she had posted in one of the Facebook groups that she was trying to carry on her father's legacy of doing Bigfoot research, and at that point in the script, Debbie was sort of...
Would that be Laurie Simmons?
Oh, I don't know. That could be. I don't know.
Yeah. I know that Laurie...
Like I said, her name escapes me.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, but at that point, Debbie was Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, so, I mean, you some of your inspiration has come from those on Facebook online, their stories, their encounters, their experiences, and you've looked at that for a storyline as well as, probably your own personal research into the subject to get an interesting storyline,
Yeah, pretty much. And also there's a little bit of inspiration from older movies I've seen. And also pretty much the look of the creature is sort of inspired by what I thought of as a kid, what Bigfoot would look like.
Mm-hmm. And that is one of the most fascinating things about these Bigfoot movies is I always love to see what every producer or director has put into their Bigfoot, what it looks like, because it varies. Sometimes you got a bloodthirsty looking creature, you got a more hominid looking man-like creature, caveman, and some it's just purely creature. And so I really, when I'm watching these movies, some good, some horrible, but
and some don't even have a Bigfoot in it.
Exactly. Sometimes they just kind of you don't really see what the heck what's there, but you know that it's supposed to be a Sasquatch or something, but you don't really see it. I know with the movie Exist that Eduardo Sanchez put a lot of money into the costume. I mean, I remember talking to him about that. And he did. Eduardo Sanchez did the Blair Witch Project. So just for a background, if you don't know who Eduardo Sanchez is, but he put a lot of money into the Sasquatch costume, and it was a lot of people disagree. Those who have had sightings, or claim to have sightings, disagree about, that particular prop. But, I always find it very interesting to see, everybody else's input or intake as to what Sasquatch looks like. So I'm really curious as to, without giving away your your whole story and everything else. But I mean, what kind of are we going to see a Sasquatch in your movie? And if so, what way are you leaning as to the look?
Oh yeah, you're gonna see at least quite a bit of the creature, because, like I said, that's the center of the movie pretty much. He's the title character, so you got to have him. It's gonna be like, not to mention Eduardo so much, but it's pretty much I share his philosophy. It's got to be a real world creature. I feel he's not like a spirit. He's not like an alien. He is just a offshoot of our genetic lineage.
Right.
As
long as he doesn't come out with a red handkerchief out of his back pocket, because Bruce Springsteen was the boss, right? So the boss of the woods better not come out looking like Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, the Bigfoot's definitely not gonna go up to anybody and be like, "Oh yes, can you please step into my office? I don't feel like you're doing your woods business very, very well."
But I think I see another movie there. It's like the Office Space of, the boss of the Office Space Woods or something. But
that could be a miniseries.
You're right. Harry and the Hendersons.
I think that's been done.
Yeah, that's what Harry did after he went off back into the woods. Those other Bigfoots, they started their own little family business.
Right.
So where
now
are you
you're
at?
doing funding for this show. I think you got a Kickstarter going for it. And are you getting a lot of people interested in this movie? I mean, how hard is it to get this thing off the ground? We've interviewed a lot of people doing Bigfoot movies and whatnot, and it could be very difficult at times. What kind of are you running into a lot of struggles financially, or are you getting a lot of people interested in funding the movie?
Well, whenever you're making a movie, you're probably going to have financial troubles, but I haven't done a crowdfunder yet. We were going to do a Kickstarter last fall, but we had some minor setbacks, and I just decided to push it back a little bit at least until we could get a trailer together, and which that trailer evolved into just doing a short film version first to sort of give people a little taste of what to expect. And so I'm shooting for sometime in April, launching the Indiegogo campaign to fund the movie. And it's just about choosing what budget would work best for us and would still be reasonable, that people would be like, oh yeah, that's achievable for them.
Right, gotcha.
So,
and you've done I guess by trade, you've done some makeup. You're a makeup artist. So what other things have you done to get you to where you're at now, as far as movies or whatnot?
Oh, I think I sort of touched on it when I emailed you prior to the show. I sort of done some help with other people's projects. Like I helped a guy out with a fan film. I've helped actually a couple of fan films. Like one was for Half-Life, and I'm still finishing up on a Star Trek one. And I've done a lot of work with this director, but it seemed like felt that feeling when you feel like you're not really going anywhere. So I decided to sort of, for lack of a better term, take it into my own hands. Like I've also had that advice given to me by one of my friends in the business, I guess. Your work's not going to come to you. You need to go out there and do it yourself. And
right. Especially in this day and age where, you have so many people in this day and age. You have so many people that are making movies or doing what you do. They're, no offense, but they're a dime a dozen. There's a lot of people doing this stuff, so you have to make yourself stand out, unique, and you have to come up with your own storylines and everything else, and you have to really tried to look for work, I guess, and so that I can imagine it being very tough, very tough. You know, these Bigfoot movies that come out, and specifically the Bigfoot movies I'm talking about, you know, they're usually hard to really get off the ground. But when they do come out, I think they do a good job. But they're not like overnight. It takes such a long process getting actors and the storyline, the scenes, and everything else that involves, you know. And then, of course, money is always an issue, obviously, because you don't want to put out something that's just utter crap. You want to put the best you can into it, whether it's, you know, the props, you know, like especially, you know, like the Bigfoot, you know, which I know for a lot of films, the Bigfoot is some of the most costly, the costume is some of the most costly things involved with the show.
That's probably why a lot of the Bigfoot, some of the Bigfoot movies don't have a Bigfoot in them. That's a good way to like just we'll put it in the title, but you'll never actually see it.
Yeah, that's also that's one thing I think I don't care if the suit looks like crap. I just want there to be a Bigfoot movie in the movie. Like I've seen a movie recently called Bigfoot Chronicles. I like to equate it to like The Room of Bigfoot movies and how it's so bad it's good.
I'm familiar with. It's interesting because ironically, the guy who made Bigfoot Chronicles is from Oregon, and I met him on Facebook quite a while ago, and we have the same last name, but we're not related. And it's not my last name is Monson, so it's it's uncommon last name. And like, are we related somehow? It just was a strange coincidence that there was somebody else in Oregon with the same last name that was in, making a Bigfoot movie.
Oh wow, that's a crazy coincidence, man.
Yeah. So, and he was in the movie. I mean, yeah, it was.
And I will give him credit where credit is due.
Range.
And I was going to say, I will give him credit where credit is due. They did have some great shots where I felt like, because it was shots where like the Bigfoot was just peeking out. You didn't get a good glimpse at it. I was like, oh God, that actually is a cool shot.
Have you thought about, Collier, actually, have you done any research with groups at all? I mean, have you gone out in the field? I think for inspiration, it might be unique. And I know that some other directors have done this with their films. They've gone out with Bigfoot groups and researchers to get a better idea of what people are doing in the woods, in the field, research. Have you thought about doing that? Have you done that?
Oh, I think I would love to do that. Whether there's any Bigfoot, I know there's Bigfoot researchers here in Iowa. I just haven't gotten in contact with any of them to seriously go out and Bigfoot research. But I did like a while back when I went to my great grandparents' place, which is located out in the Shawnee National Forest in Illinois.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where there was actually a couple of Bigfoot sightings like within like 30. It was actually also like down where the big muddy monster reports were.
Mm-hmm.
Way back. That's near where they were. And I remember going out in the woods. My uncle actually drove me out in the woods, and I did some calls and wood knocks, but didn't stay nearly long enough because my uncle was like, all right, I'm tired. I want to go home.
That's enough Bigfooting for today.
Yeah, it's enough of your crap.
Yeah, I think a lot of directors and those interested in doing in Bigfoot flicks and movies would be it'd be beneficial if they actually go out with some credible people. I mean, there's a lot of people doing research. Some I find credible, some I don't. But if you latch on to groups or individuals out in the field that are going regularly and have perhaps some good areas and evidence or data, it would probably influence the film in a good way. Just throwing my 2 cents in there. I'm not a producer or a film guy, or I love watching them, but I'm not going to make one anytime soon. Trust me. But I think it could add to add some influence into a movie in a good way.
Oh yeah, I also tried to weave in some stuff that I see. Like, of course, I've seen like the shows like Finding Bigfoot and Monster Quest, Monster or Animal X. Just see what the researchers claim to do. I've seen like YouTube videos with Bigfoot researchers going out and showing what they do. Sort of try to weave in what they do. And then also base some of the minor characters off of people that are actually in the Bigfoot community. Like, I don't know if if I'm giving away anything when I was talking about, like, the characters, and I talk about the sort of sleazy filmmaker guy in the movie. He's sort of loosely based off of Ivan Marks.
Well,
yeah.
there are probably not a lack of sleazy characters in the Bigfoot community that you could fashion a character as. No offense. None that are listening, though, I'm sure.
Right. Oh, no, hopefully not.
No, there's a lot of ways this film can go, and I mean, right now you have pretty much, you pretty much know, Collier, I would imagine, start to finish, what you're going to be producing. I mean, how much more stuff out there will you envelop, or are you looking to envelop into your movie, as far as ideas? I mean, are you still looking for inspiration ideas, or do you pretty much have your plot, plan, the whole thing nailed down?
Oh, I pretty much got the script entirely written out. It's looking to be like an hour-and-a-half movie.
Mm-hmm.
But there could be things that change. Like, I've actually had a filmmaker friend that I've talked to. They say that you can be rewriting pretty much right as you're shooting, and then I could also go up to where I'm starting to do test screenings, and something just doesn't play out as well. So I'm gonna have to tweak a couple of things. So I want to say that everything's pretty much certain as to how it goes, but it's never really certain.
So it's kind of a living, breathing thing. The story as you're filming, you go back and you film a scene, and it's interesting because they don't. My understanding, they don't film things in sequence the way that you see it on the screen. I mean, this scene is filmed, the scene that's near the end of the movie might be filmed towards the beginning of production, and it's very rare for them to film a movie in sequence. I mean, it's set up by scene. You're filming a scene, not an entire movie. And then the filmmakers look at the scenes and see how they all tie together, and then you put them together like a puzzle.
Yeah, and then of course you have to probably go by which ones, either whether you want to get all the difficult stuff out or first, or where you want to get all the simple stuff out first, and pretty much try to get all the scenes, like, if you have one actor that's only available for a certain amount of days, try to get all their stuff done all at once, and then get them out and ready to go. Like, we actually have an actress that just came on board. She's a wonderful actress named Megan Hensley. She's recently was on a Disturbed music video, The Light. She's great friends with one of my actor buddies, Joe Shirata, and we were at a party, and I was talking to her about it, and I actually had some of the storyboards with me, and she looked over, and she's like, I'd love to be a part of this. Just tell me the shoot dates and all that.
So are you often walking around with your Bigfoot movie storyboards?
Oh, no, not often. That was just like I said, it was my buddy Joe. He's actually going to be in the movie. He plays the hermit that shot a couple of Bigfoots he was having like a filmmakers party, so I brought some stuff with me.
Oh, cool. What from here? Where can people go to find out more information about your upcoming movie?
Oh, they can go and like us on Facebook at just search Sasquatch Boss of the Forest. And we also have I just started a fan group for our movie where I also share stuff in, because I've seen that a lot of people do these groups, and I thought it was a great way to keep in touch with the people that want to see what you're doing, and that way they can get notifications when you post it and all that, and you can get and vice versa. You can get posts when people have posted to your group and shared what they wanted to share with you.
And if you look, you'll see that I am a member of the Sasquatch Boss of the Forest group. So we will share that on our Facebook group page. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for being a fan.
Well, I like I said, I like Bigfoot movies. Some are good. There's been a couple the last few years that exist. I think was a really good Bigfoot movie. Kind of raised the bar a little bit. Was done differently, and Willow Creek, I think that Bobcat Goldthwait did was a good Bigfoot movie. So I am not a fan of the ending, but I still would encourage people to watch it. But there's been some good ones. You mentioned Sasquatch: The Legend of Bigfoot, which I actually, when I was a kid, saw it in the movie theater in Portland, Oregon, and that I own a grocery store, and I actually have that poster hanging up in the store because everybody knows that I'm into Bigfoot and that I do Bigfoot research, and it's just one of my props in the store, and I get to look at it when I remind me that of going to the theater and watching it. It was cool. At the end of that movie, they actually were giving out stills from the Patterson-Gimlin footage, and I think that was my first exposure to Patty. So, and I just watched that on YouTube not too long ago, and it's not a bad movie. The storyline and the way it was basically an expedition. So, I think you mentioned that earlier. And have you seen that one?
Oh, of course, I have it on DVD, and I also own the poster in my room. I love the older Bigfoot movies like that I keep mentioning, Legend of Boggy Creek, Sasquatch, Legend of Bigfoot. I'm also, I will say, Legend of Bigfoot by Ivan Marks is a guilty pleasure of mine, because when I first saw it, I didn't go into it thinking, oh, this is an actual documentary. I just thought of it as like modern-day mockumentaries where they're saying, oh, this is the legit thing. This is real, but...
These are real mermaids.
Oh, yeah. No, really. These Yetis did really kill a bunch of students.
Yeah. Now, Collier, real quick here. I mean, do you believe that this subject may be out there, or is this just strictly a script for you, an interesting script story for you? Or do you think there's a chance that Sasquatch is out there? Any chance at all?
Oh, I'm a hardened believer. I believe that there has to be something out there. I just don't see the reason why not, because whenever I talk to friends about it, and they don't really seem to know the history, gorillas, they weren't even discovered, until early in the 1900s or late 1800s.
Yeah.
And then recently we had the billy apes be discovered, and that I've been on a couple of camping trips with my girlfriend, and also just when we're driving through country, I look out into the forest and just see dense forest for miles on end. I'm just thinking, how could something that's maybe not as intelligent as a human, but almost there, how can it not just hide out there and be able to evade human human detection as to the point where we catalog them.
Yeah, I was out. I live here in Oregon, and I was out in Mount Hood again this weekend. As I'm out there a lot, and I came upon. I was checking out a new area. I wanted to play some trail cameras. I took my family, so it wasn't super remote or anything, but the area was new to me. Mount Hood is vast, and I was looking out and looking out on this really nice view of nothing but trees and mountains, and it was just amazing to me. I'm like, how many, what is out there that we're not aware of, and trust me, I know Sasquatch exists. I've had my own encounter and sighting and everything. That doesn't boggle my mind at all now. But I looked out there and I was just like, wow, this is so vast. A lot of people don't realize how vast the woods and the forests are. They don't realize how many places have never been stepped on by human foot. It's amazing the vastness of some of these forests and woods that are very hard to get to, very inaccessible, and places that, man, if I got paid to do this, that's where I'd be, because I could spend the time out there. Unfortunately, I don't get paid to do this, so I just got to look at it and spend some time out there, as much as I can afford and via work and time and all that. But it is amazing to me that people will not even consider this thing being out there. Sasquatch, I don't care what you think it is, but it's out there. But they won't even consider it. But yet, they can comment and say that it's not there, and yet they don't really know what's out there. They've never spent too much time in the woods, or even getting to know what's out there that we know of. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, I can relate.
And that those are the people that I like to take in the woods and actually tie to a tree in an active Bigfoot area and then leave them for the night. But I have
just one night. We're not talking about multiple nights, which I love doing, but just one night. It's amazing. I just don't understand the premise of their thoughts, but I guess it is what it is.
Well, I think for some people, the idea of an unknown giant hairy creature running around the woods, is a scary thing. For some people, it brings up like childhood nightmare kind of scenario, and some people just don't want to think about it. The vast majority of the populace does not give Bigfoot any thought at all, and when it is brought up in like media, it's brought up in a way to mock it and make fun of it, and of course some of that is helped along by people that put propose hoaxes and do things that grab attention at the and it's stories that the media find interesting. For last week's show, we did the year in review, and one of those things was the Lettuce Lake video, and the still of what obviously looks like a gorilla suit that's had a stripe painted on the top of its head. And when I was reviewing all that stuff, that actually made it on the national news, or it was shared because it was on. Yeah, it wasn't a Florida station that I saw the report on. It was another station in another report in another state. So that's the kind of story that gets reported.
Right.
And it just
please
ups the game.
Yeah, can somebody please make a movie where there's a hoaxer out in the field doing this hoaxing thing, and then he actually gets confirmation that Sasquatch is real. Wow. Or he sees something that he can't explain while he's in the midst of hoaxing. I would love to see a movie like that. He's out there making footprints, and then bam, there's a Sasquatch. Or just to kind of rub it in his face. I would love to see that.
That could even be
Oh.
Oh my. Have you been hacking onto my computer?
No, I haven't, but I watch a lot of Bigfoot movies, and that's one thing I've not seen done yet. Where these hoaxers are out there hoaxing, and then they actually go, oh crap, this thing's real, or maybe something nefarious happens to them. I don't know, but either way, they get confirmation, and then they're no longer a hoaxer. They're a researcher or interested in the subject, or they don't want nothing to do with it again. Kind of like Crying Wolf. Yeah.
Crying
Wolf. I don't know about
That's the name of the movie. There's the name of the movie, Crying Bigfoot.
There you go. Crying Bigfoot.
I don't know about the whole changing from a hoaxer to a actual researcher or not wanting to do anything with it, but
yeah.
I will say there is a hoaxer in this movie that does get it.
Oh, interesting. A couple of names come to mind, but I won't mention them on air.
Oh yeah.
Interesting point, though. If that's in the movie, I'm really looking forward to watching it because, I've been involved with research for many years now, and not as much as some, but I've come across some nefarious stuff, and I know other researchers that have come across obvious hoaxes, and it gets frustrating. They're not these researchers aren't stupid. They, from the majority of them, they could recognize a hoax when they see it. And not always. Sometimes it's difficult. People are very good at hoaxing, but sometimes it's so obvious, and you're like, oh, God. I know Steve Coles, and he's based out of, he does some research out where New York, New Hall, the Hall area out there, and he came across some very obvious hoaxing stuff, some impressions that were very obviously hoaxed. I don't know if he ever found out who exactly did that, but anyways, it gets frustrating because people are out there doing this, trying to fool you, trying to get one over on you, and that's why I enjoy going out to really remote areas because it's very hard to hoax in a remote area and not make it obvious, and so I would love to see that enveloped in the movie where the hoaxer, gets his spoonful of medicine, so to speak.
Speaking of the hoaxing thing, it was sort of interesting because earlier this year, I was actually my school special effects school that I sort of go through. They sort of had like a town hall meeting. It's this online web school called the Stan Winston School of Character Arts. It's a fantastic school program, and I recommend it to anybody that's sort of interested in art in general. They do these town hall meetings. They did a town hall meeting that pretty much covered hoaxing because it makes sense being special effects and all that.
Mhm.
And it was pretty much they brought in a special effects man named Ted Haynes, and he covered what he viewed as hoaxes, whether you disagree or not. I disagreed with the Bigfoot hoax they brought up, Patterson-Gimlin, because I'm a firm believer in that. It's a real Bigfoot. But they did bring up some interesting things of why people hoax, and some of them's not really just to fool or be like, I got the wool over you. It's just out of sheer boredom sometimes.
Right.
And sometimes it's just an actually interesting thing that it was brought up is sometimes hoaxes get people a job. Because there's apparently a guy who did a couple of alien hoaxes, and that led to him getting some jobs on some shows, doing effects for them.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, it's a very good, valid point. And also not just jobs, but your 15 minutes of fame and pulling the wool over someone else's eyes, and just getting. A lot of people are sick. They just like to mess with people. I mean, look at the number of prank shows that are out there via YouTube or just online or on TV where people prank people and it gets a good laugh. But some of these things, get major hits, and there's money generated that way. And some people just get satisfaction out of just messing with people, or I've found personally that those that hoax, not only do they get satisfaction out of it, but when people start to believe the hoax, or that they're actually really bringing something to the table, they get a following, and then they're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting a following. Well, I'm going to keep doing this, but not ever say that's hoax. I'm just going to keep doing it because I got a fan base and I got interest in this, and people are looking at me legitimately, when in fact there's nothing true about what their endeavors or what they're doing, but they get a following, and they just run with it, because nobody can really. It's hard to disprove a lot of stuff out there, and so they just keep running with it, and it just happens time and time again, and then before you know it, they're labeled a researcher or someone knowledgeable in the subject, and they love the attention.
Oh, yeah. Are you hinting at somebody? I feel like you're hinting at some dire guy.
Well, he's one of them, but I think he's finally come out of the closet and has labeled himself that. I mean, he knows what he's doing. But there's many others out there. I'm not going to call names out, but there's many others out there doing this. Some I don't know for a fact, but I can assume, or my opinion is they are doing that. So I'm not pointing fingers, but there's it's a very tough field to be in, because there's just that many hoaxers out there, or not even hoaxers, but people putting false information out there, looking for their 50 minutes of fame or whatever they're doing. So it's out there. It's to be recognized, and that's why a lot of your really top-notch, in my opinion, researchers, people doing things the right way, don't share a whole lot of stuff because it's not good enough. If what is good enough in this field? It's very tough. You can post tracks, impressions, hair samples, the whole nine. Still not good enough. Still not good enough at the end of the day. It takes a lot more than that. And that's why, I enjoy personally working with the Limit Project and the Tillamook Forest Group, as researchers, that we're building upon our information in our databases, building for that day of discovery. Whether we're the ones or not, we will have all this data collected that will be shared for the day of discovery to show to the general public and the academia that, here's what we have. How can we help? And that's what I look forward to. And there's a lot of researchers out there doing that, and individuals and groups that are legitimate. And it's tough at times to get around the shock and awe factor, with some of these YouTube videos and stuff where, here's a Sasquatch, here's a track impression, or, and there's really nothing to it. It's tough. But at the same time, if you're really legitimate about the research and doing your due justice and work on it, your work in the end will show that you were adamant about it and you're honest about it. And that's, to me, the key thing.
Well, one of the things the phrases that you use that is very accurate is due diligence. I mean, the fact that hoaxing exists and that it ups the game for legitimate researchers is that we really have to process our evidence and back up our evidence with science, with processing. Just providing raw data is not enough to move the subject forward. It really is more about collecting information. Real Bigfoot research isn't that sexy. Isn't that wouldn't make great TV.
Yeah, it sucks. It just sucks.
It's a lot of time and energy, and a lot of times not getting anything, not getting results, or not going out in the field and not having anything happen, which is valuable information, as Bigfoot people that are hardcore researchers know. Not having anything happen is valuable as well as having. It's not as much fun as having, screams and finding footprints and other stuff, but it's also valuable in the long run and in the building of predictability and that stuff. So, but yeah, right. Due diligence is hoaxers do that's I guess the one thing is hoaxers make you have to do due diligence with your research more so, even though you should be anyway, but it ups the game for Bigfoot researchers to rule out.
Right, they get their 15 minutes of fame. They get their little minutes of fame and at the start, but we're not in this for the short term. We're in this for the long term, and it's not about fame or fortune. It's about the subject matter, the study of it, and what is proven and what is not proven. And I hope, Collier, your film reflects that a little bit. I don't know if it will or won't. I'm not going to put words in your mouth or whatnot, but it sounds like your film is, this girl that wants to continue on with research from her father that was probably doing legitimate research, and now that I guess we let a little bit of the cat out of the bag with a hoaxer, I'm really looking forward to watching this. It sounds very interesting.
Well, thanks. I'm just hoping to live up to the hype, because it feels like by having to try to build up this fan base in order to do the Indiegogo, you build hype, and of course that can kill a movie. But I really hope it can live and do justice to what people expect. Of course, the people on the crew that have read the script, they say it's a very great script. Some people are saying, it's a very juicy script, and I can't wait to be a part of it, or it's something great. And I've also talked to people that I've talked to the project that I haven't given them exactly what happens in the script, but they said that they feel like I've avoided some of the pitfalls that most Bigfoot movies fall into, the mistakes they make.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm very excited to see it happen finally, because this has been a passion project of mine for 5 years. It's been fun the few times we've gotten together and shooting. It's fun working on it.
Well, if you ever need inspiration or ideas, or you just want to come out with and see what some of these researchers are doing, you're more than welcome to come out here to Oregon or Washington and come out with us. We'd love to have you anytime. If we could help out, that'd be awesome.
Well, I'd love to make a trip out there, but of course, money.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I know it takes a lot. People have great endeavors and ideas, whether it's research or a film, but it takes money to make this stuff happen, and most of it comes out of your own pocket, and that's unfortunate.
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm making a short version to sort of give a taste, so that means I'm having to make compromises on the short to hopefully give people an idea. This would be cool, and but just imagine what they could do if they had more money to do it properly. Yes,
exactly. And there's not enough of that out there, whether it's in film or research. The money is lacking. I've spent thousands of dollars on research, and that sounds like a lot, but in the scheme of things, it really isn't. Because it takes a lot of money to do stuff. I mean, just the basics, whether it's filming or research, it takes a lot of money to do anything. Whether it's I don't claim to know much about film, but for research in general, you're talking, gas money, batteries, time off work, and that whole scenario. For filming, there's not a whole lot of people that will do things for free, and it takes time to do research on the subject matter and go to places and film stuff and get it edited, and so I can imagine you run into some of the same frustrations that I do.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that from the way you're describing it, it's pretty much the same problems you run into, taking time off work, and I'm sure when you're go out in the field researching with other people, you're having to time it with their schedules too. Trying to work around everything, trying to get the money together. Then sometimes there's those pitfalls when you're like, I got the money now, and they're like, yeah, I can't really do it now.
Yeah, unfortunate. That kind of sucks. So the next big step for your movie is the Indiegogo campaign. Is that the next thing we'll be looking for?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
And when are you planning on launching that again?
I'm looking. We haven't have any set dates yet, but the general idea after talking with some of the crew, because I like to get my crew's input, what they think, and see what they thought. Some of them said that it would probably be smart to wait till at least in the spring. That way, everybody's got their tax returns and everybody's basically recovered from stuff like Christmas and all that.
That's smart thinking, yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically what you have to do when you're doing a crowdfunder. I've done a lot of research too within crowdfunders that you have to time it right, because sometimes crowdfunders fail because of the time of the year, and also that they're not getting their proper push. Because I've seen some films go up on Kickstarter recently that had very ambitious goals for the budget. But when I looked at their promotion, they really only promoted at the beginning of the campaign and then the last day.
Yeah, that'd be a challenge. Collier, is there anything else you'd like to share about your movie or Bigfooting in general, or?
Well, I just hope it lives up to everybody's expectations. Obviously, it won't please everybody, but like basically, I have a couple of philosophies. One, I want to bring like a sort of, for lack of a better word, Bigfoot epic. Like each genre has their some of their standouts, and I want to like. My hope is to contribute something that people will look back and be like, "Oh, that was a fun movie. That was just a fun movie." And if it's not, I just hope that it entertains people, good or bad. Because like I remember one time when I was having like a very down. I was very down and all that, and one of my friends said, well, you're going into making movies, so just think that you're going to be bringing people together, pretty much. So if it's a good movie, I hope it's something that people can gather up on the couch or maybe in theaters and see and have fun watching. And if it's a bad movie, I just hope that they can get on the couch with their friends and just poke fun at it and be like, why are they doing that? Oh, that's just so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's two questions that came into our chat right now. One is, what part of the country are you filming in? And two, what about your sculptures? Selling of your sculptures online?
Well, I'll go ahead and answer the first one.
Yeah.
There's two places that I would love to shoot in. One is the most economically possible for us is shooting here in Iowa. Like I know people are like, where you're in the corn, that's a big territory. But I've looked at the BFRO maps, and there's been a fair amount of like Bigfoot encounters here, and there's like a fair amount of woods around the town I live in. Mm-hmm. Like there's not like too many cornfields around the town I live, and it's very hilly. And there's actually some great, because I go out in the woods whenever I can here, and there's some. There's actually a place that on a farm that I used to live on, where I don't know whether it's just bad luck for the cattle or what, but it was a creek that there was a lot of cattle bones and stuff from all the cattle over the years that would either fall or just happen to die there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sculptures, what particularly are they curious about?
Just to talk about your sculptures, or the sculptures in general, and where they can find them, I guess, selling them online.
Well, like I said, you could find them on the Sasquatch Boss of the Forest official page, and I've posted some on the fan group for Sasquatch Boss of the Forest. Depending on which ones they're talking about, if they're talking about the ones that I do like in my free time, that are just like different monsters I've done, or the Bigfoot. I'm guessing they're talking about the Bigfoot related work I've done.
Obviously, yeah.
I'm gonna go. I guess I'll go into designing them and basically the creature for the movie. If I don't know how many people out there that are watching that are aware of the long process that has gone into the design of the creature. Is that I've gone through many iterations, like over this process, from the very first one I did back in 2010 or 11, which was basically a slip cast latex mask, where I had cut it up to where there was some jaw articulation, and I scrapped that. It was pretty much a long process of doing something, then scrapping it and starting over again until I got it perfect, or at least as perfect as I could get it. And recently I've done a couple of maquettes, which are miniatures of what the full-size thing is going to be. And
yeah, I would say that if you could promote that properly and you have some finished product that may help fund your project here. I know a lot of people are interested in sculptures and drawings and everything else that some people do that may help fund your project if you sell it properly and promote it properly.
Like I model some of the stuff I do off of some work of one of my favorite indie directors, Collier, who is also one of my past teachers. He recently did a Kickstarter that was very close to being successful for his movie Shallow Water, and where he showed one of the creature that he was making, and I'm expecting that will show sort of what the creature is going to look like closer to the Kickstarter, or the Indiegogo, I apologize. Getting up and running, because what we're planning is, like I said before, doing a short version that will give people a taste with a sort of a cheaper version of the costume. It's going to be basically just a rubber mask with a gorilla, cheap gorilla suit, but trying to get them a taste of what we will do when we have an actual good suit, or at least good enough to where it's not like in the way of like, oh, that looks so fake.
Right.
And then when we do the actual Indiegogo, we'll have more of a trailer that more or less matches what we're actually doing. Like I have the trailer storyboarded, and you'll get sort of a better look at what the final creature will look like in the movie.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, the storyboard that I have up, the creature that you see in that is going to be more or less what you're going to see in the short film.
And those are on your Facebook page.
That sort of thing. And if you can sell it the right way, I mean, people are interested in others' interpretations of what Sasquatch may look like, if it's based upon other people's sightings or your own individual artistic interpretation of Sasquatch. People love stuff like that. And I know I've got friends that do busts and casts and stuff and molds of Sasquatch, and they do pretty well doing it. But it's something that will sell, and it's very interesting to people, and they like to put it in their collection, whether they believe in Sasquatch or not.
Yeah, and that's something that we're going to do, like sort of as a campaign to sort of test the waters, because I'm also a big fan of the collector stuff. I did a sort of a 1/4 scale bust of the creature, and then a 8 to 6 scale version that we're looking to do a Kickstarter or Indiegogo to see how well it goes and test the waters too. And
don't you just wish it was as easy as the new Star Wars movie, where you got to license your movie on every conceivable item that exists? mean, there's
wouldn't
Star
it just
Wars.
be great?
I just saw Star Wars, like Maybelline has a licensing deal with Star Wars. It's like, really? I mean, that's, I mean, it's on every, lunch boxes, underwear. I mean, anything you can think of, they've got Star Wars on it. I mean, I can't imagine how much they make off just the licensing of the images. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe down the line we'll
ridiculous.
have Sasquatch, boss of the forest, lunch pails.
Oh, that would be, if only that would happen.
So,
this is a message to anyone who makes lunch boxes out there.
Yeah, I mean, on your Facebook page, I mean, it would be interesting to see a poll or whatnot to have people be a part of this whole thing as it develops. Either look at what you're doing periodically as you share it, or give their 2 cents, and that will help give you input on what to do down the road as far as the construction of your suit or creature. I think it'd be very interesting.
Oh, I've already sort of done stuff like that. Like, I know the first thing that sort of opened the gate to it was somebody on Facebook suggested, I don't know if you've seen the logo. I assume you've seen the logo we have with the footprint with the big patty silhouette walking through.
Yes.
They said, come on, seriously, this needs to be a shirt. And I pretty much told my audience, seeing whether this was something, and now I see that when we do the campaign, that's going to probably be our top package, the packages that contain the shirts, because that's going to be something that everybody's probably going to want.
Right.
And then that opened it up to, like, when I was going through some designs, like trying to figure out, what would be this, and I thought, because I was trying to decide what the contact lenses should look that will be worn, and so I pretty much went out there and asked the audience what they thought, and gave each contact lens idea a number, and they would respond with the corresponding number.
And what would you end up with for the idea for contact lenses?
Oh, it's let's see, I'll have to look back, but I remember it was the one that had a very brownish yellowish look to it. That was very ape-like. That covered the whole eye pretty much. That I'm going to the post right now on the page. Oh crap! Did I pass it? Sorry, I apologize. There's so many posts.
Oh, I know how that goes. So you haven't done a trailer yet for the movie, or that's something you're working on?
We've done a couple of teasers, actually. If you look up Sasquatch Boss of the Forest, basically just like 45 to 50 seconds of footage, very simple.
Is that the gentleman is talking about it's a white-haired gentleman talking about the boss of the woods?
Yeah, that's my actor friend, Michael Banks. He plays pretty much that's Debbie's father, basically.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
He's a Bigfoot researcher, and if you take a look, that's actually he's pretty much quoting a speech by Grover Krantz, and that's the basis of the two trailers we've done, or teasers we've done, and basically they were all we could do because we didn't have much people available to shoot some stuff.
What about, Here, let me ask you this, Collier. What about sound effects? You know, a lot of these movies out there, they use known sound effects or Bigfoot calls or recordings that influence them to promote that. Have you thought about that yet, as far as what you'd use for, or is it even going to be a part of the show or the movie? Sorry, as far as recordings, or are you going to come up with sound recordings really unique, or have you even thought that far?
I almost every aspect of relating to the creature, I'm wanting to sort of base it on actual stuff we sort of know. Because I look at it in the way that I don't care if you believe or not believe, you gotta acknowledge that there is a lore and rules that these creatures go by, pretty much, and you don't want to sort of disrespect that. And so I know that one of the base, I was going through and editing, doing a rough edit on one of the scenes with Ben Rollins, one of my main actors who's playing Steve. I pretty much pulled the call that was on I think the In Search Of. It was the infamous call that yell that I think they also used in Sasquatch, The Legend of Bigfoot, the long type yell.
Yeah. There's the Ohio howl and whatnot. So that and that's one of them. You know, I'm just interested in seeing what if you were going to envelop that into your movie, or if I know a lot of people or a lot of directors have completely mashed together a bunch of sound to make what they perceive a Sasquatch would do, or just get some shock and awe factor.
Yeah, I just want to try to stick as close as I can to what people say they sound like, or what they look like. Try to get as close to what they look like. That's the hardest part. The sounds, there's plenty to go off of. And that's according. Another interesting thing I wanted to bring up when you brought up sound effects is an idea I sort of pitched around with our composer. Again, it all draws back to budget, is at some points have the music become the sound effects. Because that was another thing, because I like to reference older movies a lot. Like the original 1933 King Kong. You go back and watch that. A lot of times, because since it was early in the talkie movies, they would use the music as sound effects. Like when Kong would punch something, the music would emphasize the punch instead of actually doing an actual punch sound effect. And I thought that'd be very cool to bring something like that into the movie. Like when the Bigfoot, like if he throws a rock, that have music swell to emphasize that.
No, that's fantastic. The for me, in a lot of these movies, when I watch them and whatnot, I value. I value artistic interpretation, but at the same time, I value looking at what's out there, what has been recorded over time, and that you envelop that into a movie, and as much as you can, because a lot of these sounds are open to our interpretation and whatnot. But to envelop that into a movie, to make people, really captivate. What really captivates me in a movie is when I can almost feel like I'm there and feeling that and seeing that and hearing this sort of stuff, and that to me makes a good movie, whether you believe in Sasquatch or not. It's sort of, like I said, the shock and awe factor, like, whoa, I can feel that in my bones. That's a unique sound. If you heard that in the woods, you would know that probably was not anything known,
Yeah. And also that's another thing, like when you brought up like whether you believe in Bigfoot or not, that's also another tough thing about making this, is you sort of also, as much as I want to make this for a movie that's just for the people that love this thing or just for them, you gotta sort of, if you're wanting to do anything with it, you sort of have to keep all groups in mind and sort of think, okay, this is something that is definitely a certain thing that goes on in the Bigfoot community, but how can I sort of use this in a way that would be very entertaining for an audience?
Yeah, because it's not a Bigfoot documentary. It's a movie. It's a fictional movie based on Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes based on like real Bigfoot encounters, but
sure.
Like that's one thing that I don't want to give away too much, but that was one of the biggest things that influenced a big part of the movie is the Ape Canyon thing. Because I just felt like I've never really seen a very, really cool version outside of like Sasquatch, Legend of Bigfoot. A very good, really cool interpretation of like the Bigfoot's pretty much trapping people in a cabin and trying to get in.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, also, and Edward Sanchez exists, but
right. But
yeah.
Your own take on it. That's
yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we're just about out of time. I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Shane, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the end product, and possibly, because you have a fan page now on Facebook, to the process that you go through. If you can share tidbits without giving up the movie in general, just tidbits and sharing stuff like that, and hopefully people will be interested in this endeavor and help support this financially and get this off the ground so you can make it as best as you can, because I know how hard it is to do things when you set your mind to it, but you need money, and you need financial backing. I hope people will support this, and maybe they can have their 2 cents, by supporting financially this movie, that some of the things they share with you or ask you to do or give you advice on or whatever, that could be in part of the film, and that they will see by backing you that they are being listened to at least, whether you envelop that stuff into the show or not, or the movie or not. So, but I love your premise, your ideas, and look forward to where this goes.
Yeah, can I say something too to sort of respond about what you're saying about the fans and by backing it up? Just imagine, like I said, when it started, it was going to be Oma, and somebody brought to my attention, so I wanted everybody to keep that in mind. I do listen and read everybody's comments, even though I'm not always responding as much as I can. And also, like, when it comes down to time, I'm going to put, like, everybody's name that backs the project in the credits, whether you donated $1 or $20 or more. The people's names are going to be in the credits, and I want to acknowledge that they helped to make this thing possible.
Very cool. To get your name in the movie credits when you see
how many times
campaign.
do you say that?
That's right.
My name's in that credit.
I always look at movies for people with the last name Monson, which is not a common thing. So so you had the opportunity to have your name show up in the credits for movies. We're just supporting.
Now you can force your friends and family to sit through credits.
That's right. My name's down there. I know it is.
For something that is not a Marvel movie.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Are you gonna do a secret film scene at the end of the movie after the credits? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well, I don't want to give a lot away, so I don't want to give too, like, there might be, but there might not be, so.
So you'll want to sit through the credits for a Sasquatch boss of the forest.
The worst that could happen is you sit through the credits and nothing happens.
Well, thank you, Collier, for being with us today, and we hope
no problem.
that we
Thanks
wish
for
you
having
luck.
me.
Oh yeah, we wish you luck in your endeavor and the fundraising, and we look forward to being invited to the premiere. And I just thought I'd slip that in there. And
oh, okay. I think I'm taking your hint.
And for all our listeners, go to the Sasquatch Boss of the Forest Facebook page, and you have one where they can give it a like, and then they can join the group too. Is that what you got going?
The official page is just simply Sasquatch Boss of the Forest. That's the one you can go to and like and see a lot of our posts. Then there's the Sasquatch Boss of the Forest fan group, and you can just go there. It's pretty much run by me, my girlfriend, and Julie Wrench, and we try to get around to accepting everybody and responding to everybody's posts and stuff as much as we can.
So get out there and support this endeavor, and we'll look forward to seeing the movie in its completion. For Shane and myself, we wish you a Happy New Year, and we'll be back here next week. Our guest will be Mr. Derek Randles, the head of the Olympic Project. We look forward to being back here with you next Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Monster X Radio. Good night.